Good morning again, everyone. We are now at week 4, and this is class. What class is this? I think this is class 5. I think this is class 6. Oh, this is class 6. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Louis. We're now at class 6. Okay, and today we are looking at website marketing. So, intro to website marketing is what we're looking at today. And we're going to get started because we have a special guest that will be joining us at 11 o'clock to walk us through SEO, the mysterious SEO. All right. So let's quickly get into it. I'm not seeing a lot of people here, but we're going to start anyway because we want our guests to, we don't want to delay our guest. So I'm going to start. Let me get situated. What's this? What's this? Okay. All right. Intro to websites. Now let's start with some fun facts, right? Did you know that the total amount of websites that exist in the world, out in the world, let me adjust this here, that exist out in the world is over 1.7 billion. Am I the only one that's surprised by that? I'm like, I didn't know it was that many. There were that many websites out in the world. I was shocked. That is a lot. But even though that many website exists, not all of those websites are active. So when we look at total active websites, it's way less than that. It's over 1,946,000, and that number is rising by the minute. Literally, there's it's called Internet Stats, that website. You're on that website and you're looking up the amount of websites, and then the ticker just keeps going up, 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 up. So there are new websites coming online almost by the second. Okay, but this to me was not surprising that there were far less active websites than total websites because of how a lot of people tend to use websites for a lot of people is set it and forget it. Your billionaire is pretty website and it just sits there. You don't really do much with it. You don't really update it, and you're not really utilizing the website in the way you are supposed to. And so for many of us, myself included, our websites are not doing the heavy lifting that websites should be doing and that websites can do. But we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what is website marketing and really why website marketing is or should be an important part of your digital marketing plan or strategy. You know, we love a good definition, so we're going to start with what exactly is a website, because I think that's where we need to start from before we get into the marketing aspect of it. Understand what this marketing channel is. So a website, and I may sneeze because my nose feels tingly. A website is a collection of publicly accessible interlinked web pages that share a single domain name and that can only be viewed through a web browser, and whether that web browser is on your desktop, on your laptop, a smartphone, tablet, whatever, right? Let's look at some of the key things here, right? So the first one is that it's interlinked web pages. So your website is not just one page unless you have like a landing page, but more often than not, your website is multiple pages, multiple navigable pages. So you may have your home page, about us page, services page, contact page. So it's multiple pages that hence the word collection, that are interlinked under a single domain name. So www.digitaldisruptionagency.com. That's the domain name. Now, if you should go to digitaldisruptionagency.com, you'll find that there are multiple interlinked pages, right? And of course, you can really only access them or really view them through a web browser. Now, when we talk more about how we're going to look at some web terms that you should know, website terms you should know, we're going to talk about what is HTTP and what is a browser, and then you can further understand how the internet or how websites work, because it's amazing to me that you can just click on something, all of a sudden all this information kind of pops up at you, but there's a way that it works that if I explain it would make more sense, and the interlinkness of web pages would make more sense to you as well. So this is a strictly digital channel. It's an online internet channel, which means that you have to be on the internet, you have to be online, and you have to be using a browser to be able to access websites, right? So how are websites made? How can you get a website together? Well, you can't necessarily make a website by itself without using what we call a content management system. Now, you can code a website, don't get me wrong. You have people who are that brilliant who can use code to develop beautiful excitement website. But I'm talking about us lay people. Us lay people have to depend on content management systems because we're not coders, we're not developers, and we may not be able to afford a developer, right? And so a content management system is a software application that allow people like me and you to collaborate in the creating, editing, and producing of digital content. So web pages, blog posts, etc. So some popular content management systems is Shopify, you have WordPress, Joomla, which is an older one, and Joomla is more of a has more coding than WordPress. You have Squarespace, Wix, Blogger, and you have WooCommerce. Now, what all of these sites have in common is that they allow me or you to be able to use their platform and build on top of their platform a website for ourselves with our own domain name. If for a lot of them, to get your own domain name, you have to buy a package. But you can have your own domain name. Some of these sites offer you a service where it's drag and drop or build already website where you don't have to do much. You just pick a template and you edit the template and you're good to go. You may not get your own domain name, but at least you have some kind of presence on the internet, right? So these are content management systems. Now, again, that's not the only way websites are built. Websites are coded, can be coded. But for the regular people like me and you, we really do depend on content management systems to be able to build website, right? And depending on the content management system you use, the level of difficulty, because if we go back and look at some of these content management systems, you realize that some of them are e-commerce based. So Shopify and WooCommerce are e-commerce based. WooCommerce is also a plugin that you can use on WordPress. So if you have a WordPress based website and you want to have a shop on WordPress, you can I think you can use Shopify, but I know for sure WooCommerce has a WordPress plugin that you can plug in and you can build your shop using the WooCommerce plugin on WordPress, right? So out of all of those, WordPress is probably the most popular one because they've really made it very easy or easier than other sites for you to just be able to go on and just do a thing. I should have added something here about theme builders. Theme builders, when you're using content management systems, adding a theme builder is where you can, again, buy a theme from maybe a theme forest or an Envato market. These are websites that sell website themes or templates, and you can literally buy a template, upload it to WordPress, and within seconds you have a ready-made website where you really don't have to do anything because you already buy the theme. You're literally just going there and customizing. So that's theme builders. So you have theme builders, that's website templates. You have theme builders like Divi, you have Elementor, and there are other theme builders there, but those are the two most popular ones. So basically what they do is they give you templates that you can customize to create your own websites, or through the theme builder you can create your own customized website, but to make it easier for you because you can just drop a section, add something, drop something, add something. So it's, again, you don't have to code, right? So let's look at some of the most popular types of websites. So of course we have blogs. And what are blogs? Well, blogs kind of started out as online journals, and in a way they're still online journals. But in terms of marketing, blogs are really used as part of like an SEO strategy, because you can use keywords in your blogs, and we know that keywords can help the search engine find, index, and rank you, right, using the right keywords as well. Using the right keywords make it easier for your audience that you're trying to talk to find you as well. So blogs, whether it's a corporate website or a personal website, it's always good to have blogs on there, because another reason too is it's a less salesy way of talking about your business or your brand or establishing your expertise or authority in that area. It's less in your face and more conversational. And in that way, I think you'll find more people wanting to read the blog than, let's say, a white page. You know what I mean? So blogs are a lot friendlier, easier to read, and shareable as well. Of course, we have e-commerce websites, and e-commerce websites are really online shops where you can set up an online store so persons can come and buy your stuff through some kind of do some kind of payment through some kind of payment processing gateway. So whether it's Stripe, or I know some local banks have some plugins, or easy pay or WePay or whichever payment processing. Once you set up your e-commerce store, what you're doing is allowing people to be able to purchase goods or services from your website or from your e-commerce platform. Say for instance you have a store on Etsy or Shopify. It's not necessarily your website, but you have a store on that e-commerce platform, like you can have an Amazon store, right? You have portfolio websites. So if you're a graphic designer or artist or even a writer, you can create portfolio based websites where you're really just showing off your work, or is a site that you can send people to so they can go and look at work that you have done in the past to be able to decide whether or not you're somebody they would want to work with. So we call that portfolio websites, although you can use your social media pages as a portfolio, but then again, you don't own these social media pages. So it's always good to have, if you are along those lines, an artist, writer, speaker, whatever, you can create portfolio websites where it's really just about you introducing the person to you, who you are, what you do, work you've done, the type of work that you're looking for, whether you're working on commission, etc. All of that you can put on your portfolio website. Of course, you have business websites or corporate websites that are attached to big businesses or established business, or even new business. If you're a small business, you can have a website, and those websites are usually information based. telling you, telling the viewer what you do, maybe the price of a service or a product, where you're located, maybe a little bit of history about your company, the founders, the team, etc. So pretty much basic information again that they can use to decide whether or not they want to patronize your business. You have informational website. Now it's informational because you have several different websites that could fall under the category of informational, but mostly we're talking about news sites. So BBC, CNN, those kinds of sites that usually provide information, whether it's news or general information, like think of like a GIS, right? You can call that news, but it's really just keeping you up to date on certain things and giving you certain kinds of information, whether it's political based or whether it's industry based, or regardless of what it is, it's really just keeping you informed and up to date as what on what's happening. Then you have websites that are one page websites, and those are landing pages. And it's called a landing page because that's where persons land on when they click the link. That's the first and probably the only page they're going to land on when they click the link. And you mostly use landing pages when you're having like an event, or you're promoting something. They're usually promotional based. So you have an event coming up, you don't really want to create an entire website for the event. You really just want one page where people can go get more information, sign up, buy their ticket or whatever, and that's it. And after the promotion ends, the page disappears. You can cancel, delete, whatever the page after that, right? So it's really only serving that promotional purpose. Although you do have people that have events, say for instance, the event is annual or quarterly or whatever, that build out entire websites because no, it's more of it's a recurring thing. But if it's like a one-off promotional thing, some people have landing pages for their lead magnets, and we talked about lead magnets, and we talked about email marketing as one of the ways that you can get people build your email list. So say for instance you have a free guide that you want to give away, you can create a landing page, put the information on it, have people put their email in, and they can download their freebie or their lead magnets, right? And of course, you have personal websites. Personal websites, again, you could be an artist, a singer. Anybody can really have a personal website. I've seen personal websites for people where you don't really know what they do. Them just have a website. They're like, okay, great. Anybody can have a personal website. It's usually focused on you. Personal brands have personal websites. Like, for instance, if you should go to any one of Joel Darkham's social media pages. He's called Corp Centric on about all his pages, and click on his link, it'll take you to his website. Your personal website usually reflects your personality, gives people an idea of your personality, how you look, how you speak, how you present yourself, and it's more of a getting to know the person kind of thing. You can, if you have a personal brand, it's also a way to build your email list, and even to grow your social media following, because depend on where people first come in contact with you could be your website. So if you're a podcaster, a YouTuber, a blogger, or whatever, you can have your own personal website that will give people a better understanding of who you are, of your personality. It's usually very much reflective of your personality. And then we have wiki. Now, wikis are usually what I call fan pages, or fandom kind of pages. And it's called a wiki because it has multiple contributors contributing information or updating the page, just like Wikipedia. So that's why it's called a wiki. And wiki did not start with Wikipedia. But wikis are websites where there are multiple contributors to the content on the website, and they're usually focused around one topic. So you may have a Star Wars wiki or a Harry Potter wiki, where all the information on that site is about Harry Potter or about Star Wars. So they're very fan based in that way. Although you can have, like a Wikipedia, multiple different conversations happening, but the same thing applies where you have multiple contributors contributing information to that page. But determining what the best website for you is, or for your brand, or for your business, depends on what is the primary purpose of your website. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think your website should be your primary digital channel for several reasons. And the biggest reasons why I think your website should be your primary digital channel is because you own the platform. And by own, you may not own WordPress. Well, you don't own WordPress. You don't own the theme builder. You probably have a subscription to the theme builder, but you own the content on the site. You own the space. You own the domain name. And as long as you're paying your server, your hosting, you will be able to put information on your page and have it published to the world on the internet, right? And that's very different from a social media where it's catching. And at any moment, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any one of these platforms can ban your profile, suspend you for some obscure community rule that you probably don't want, and they can't even properly point it out to you and say this is the exact reason why you were suspended or you were banned. So imagine spending months, years building up your followership and your community on a social media platform, all to have it snatched from you because somebody didn't like something you said and reported you. And if enough people don't like things you say and report you, you can lose your profile. Unlike your website, there's nowhere that they can really report you to have your website banned, right? So you own that space. You can do whatever you want in that space. That's your home on the internet. You can spread out as much as you want to. You can be as aggressive in your marketing as you want to. You can really take any approach to marketing yourself, your business, your products on your own website. You decide. There are no rules. You make up those rules. Well, there are rules in terms of search engine rules, but in terms of what you put on your thing, the only other rule is really around privacy and data collection, GDPR, etc. But otherwise, it's up to you. So how do you decide what the primary purpose of your website is? Well, what are you doing there? Is it to sell? I think all websites are to sell. Whether it's a personal website or a blogger, you're always selling something. So it's to sell. Maybe you want to generate leads. Maybe it's to inform, to entertain, to serve. You have service-based website like maybe Kiwanis Club website that are service club sites, or just resource-based websites where it's a non-profit kind of thing. It's an open source where you can just come and get the information. Is it to present? Is it to connect? What is the purpose of you building your website? A lot of people don't think that through carefully. They just go, oh, well, these are the steps to digital marketing, or these are the steps I have to take as a business in 2022. I have to have a social media and I have to have a website. And not much thought is going into how are these two things linked, right? Because really and truly, your social media, your website, your podcast, if you have a podcast, or your app, if you have an app, all of those things are touch points for your prospects, right? And so what you want is to create an overall experience of your brand, of your business. And so there has to be some connectivity or connectedness between all these platforms. So you have your main website, which is where that's your primary home on the internet. All the information people need to be able to make a decision about you and your brand, it's right there. All the content, the important content is there. You may use your social media platforms to drive traffic to your website. You may use Google ads to drive traffic to your website, or from your app to your website. However, you're not building out the funnel where you know that these different channels sits at different point in the funnel, and this is what they are supposed to be doing at that in those spaces. But we just create websites and we just create social media, and then wonder why they don't work. Right? There has to be some kind of plan or strategy behind it, guys. And so what you should do is sit down and figure out, okay, what is my funnel? How am I going to traffic people? And it sounds odd, but how am I going to attract my audience? Where am I going to send them once I've been able to attract them and gain interest? Where am I going to send them? How am I going to convert them? How am I going to keep them? And your different channels play a role in those different things. So if your website is your primary channel, you know, that is where you really want to send people to. Because you may have your shop on there, you may have your email subscription on there, all the ways you can capture more data from them that you can use to target them is probably going to be on your website if your website is your main platform. And so you have what I call satellite platforms, like your social media, your apps, your instant messaging, whatever, that you're using to traffic people from those sites to your website. So they could be the main or the first point of contact, rather, for your brand or business. And once you can get that right and your content is good and they're interesting and you're doing a good job at being consistent and producing quality, it's not going to be too hard to then send them to somewhere else where they can get more of what they already liked over here, right? And probably get something free, or you incentivize them over on your website where they can get a free downloadable, maybe a downloadable audio or a mini webinar or something that you're going to use to send them over there. Depending on how your website is set up, if it's really set up good, if it's easy to navigate, if it's easy to go from one page to one page and find information, the longer they stay on there, the better it is for you. So there's a lot happening there, and this is why funnels are important, and understanding what the primary purpose of all your digital channels are before you even set them up. And even if you've already set them up, it's never too late to kind of figure that out and start moving with purpose or intentionality on the internet. So I have a fun little exercise for us guys. What do you think? This is the top 10 most visited websites in Jamaica. And this is according to the Digital Global Report put together by We Are Social and Hootsuite. And according to them, these are the most viewed websites in Jamaica, just on a whole, because you can know you guys are having a whole other conversation in the chat. I hope you guys are paying attention. All right then. So guys, let's look at what do you think is the number. Let's start from 10. Let's start from 10. No, let's start from 1 because that's how I set it up. What you think is the number 1 most viewed website? Amazon, Google, YouTube, Instagram, Gleaner, Pornhub, Bjorn, that's telling. All right, guys, let's see if you're right. It's Google. Of course, Google is the number 1 most visited site anywhere, as far as I'm concerned. Joanna, it's from the Global Digital Report that is actually in your resource folder in the drive, and this is how I know that you guys are not looking at the documents in the drive. But I'm not gonna get on you this morning. Okay, what's the number 2 most visited sites in Jamaica, guys? Websites. YouTube. Tamara say YouTube. Amazon. You guys say YouTube. Okay, number 2 is YouTube. Great, you guys are looking at the document. All right. What is number 3? Yahoo, Amazon, Anya, Amazon, Facebook. Number 3 is Amazon. What's number 4, guys? Instagram, Gleaner. Number 4 is Yahoo. That surprised me. The top three don't surprise me. Actually, I'm surprised by YouTube. I'm surprised that so many Jamaicans actually watch YouTube, because I have a theory about Jamaicans and YouTube. I think when we go on YouTube, we don't really go on YouTube to watch other Jamaicans on YouTube, but that's a different story altogether. Yahoo, I'm surprised by Yahoo, but I think it's the news. I think it's Yahoo News. And when you go on Google homepage, there's a lot of stories there from Yahoo News. So I don't know if that's contributing to it, but yeah. Yes, Yahoo still a key. People have them Yahoo email and thing proper. Okay, number 5 is Facebook. Number 6 is office.com. That surprised me. Number 7 is Canva, and Canva is a new entrant into our top anything list, and it's because a lot of Jamaicans are now using Canva. A lot of Jamaicans are now using Canva. Number 8 is Instagram. Number 9 is Scotia Bank. Can you believe that? Scotia Bank. Scotia Bank. Office.com. I think Office.com is Microsoft Office. And then the rounding out the number 10 is live.com, and live.com is Hotmail, I think. Live.com is Hotmail. So a lot of us still have Hotmail accounts. So guys, these are the top 10 most visited websites as of February 2022. Some of you are surprised that you don't see Shein on there, or what's that other Fashion Nova on there. So Gleaner is actually in the top 20. Gleaner is in the top 20. I'm surprised Gleaner is not in the top 10, but I think Gleaner is not in top 10 since they've gone subscription. But anyways, guys, Shein and Fashion Nova Kevin are fast fashion brands that you can buy clothes and stuff from. Anyways, guys, so this was just a fun exercise, just so you can understand. And it's always good to read these kinds of reports, guys, because they give you valuable insights into what Jamaicans are looking at, and if your target audience is in Jamaica, it can give you an insight into what they're actually looking at and where they're going when they're online. All right, guys, so this is the others in the top 10. I don't know what bunga cams are. I've never heard of bunga cams. I don't know what it is. But of course, Netflix, NCB, JNCB, Zoom has entered the top 20. It wasn't before, but since COVID, Zoom has entered the top 20. Of course, Jamaican people love our Wikipedia because we don't like verifying information. We just go copy and paste from Wikipedia. And I'm traumatized by that girl in university who submit an entire paper as on behalf of our group, where's cut and paste things from Wikipedia. And if it wasn't for the fact say the teacher knows that I wouldn't have been a part of that foolishness and gave us a second chance, I would have been kicked out of university for plagiarism. Big woman when now up on your TV I tell you about finances, by the way, on prime time news, but I digress. Anyways, Jamaica Gleaner, Jamaica Observer, AliExpress. I didn't realize that so many Jamaicans shopped at AliExpress, and TikTok. So yeah, that's that. This is what it is. This is what it is. Yes, she's big reporter, no, my dear. But anyways, I don't want to slander anybody. All right, guys, so let's look at some website terms you definitely need to know. Okay, let's look at some website terms. Every time I think about it, it upsets my spirit all over again. All right, website terms you should know. Browsers. What are browsers, guys? What do you think browsers are? Anything you use to access websites. Okay, direct to the website, Adika says. Okay. A search engine? No, browsers are not search engines. although Google browser can act as a search engine. Okay. All right, guys. So let's look at what the definition of a browser is. So it says it's a software that allows a computer user to find and view information on the internet. So Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Opera. Now somebody says browsers are search engines, and there's a difference between a browser and a search engine. Now you can use a browser to access a search engine, but they're not necessarily one and the same thing. Okay? All right. So it's a software that pretty much allows a computer user to find and view information on the internet. And guys, you have a ton of search engines out there. You have, is it GoGoDuck or DuckGoGo or GoDuck, something like that. You have Onion. You have so many different types of DuckDuckGo. There you go. Onion. So you have multiple different types of search engines out there that purport to do different things. Although, to be honest, most people say, the experts say Firefox is probably one of the most secure, because they don't track, they don't use tracking tools on Firefox. So your information tends to be a little bit more secure. You can browse a little bit more securely without people spying on you or without websites spying on you. But yeah, Onion. There's a website called, there's a search engine called Onion, but you really only use Onion if you're doing nefarious things on the website, on the internet. It's a gateway to nefarity. I don't even know that's a word. Anyways, what is Bunga Cams, Anika? I meant to Google it yesterday and I completely forgot to Google it. I was like, Bunga Cams? Don't do, okay. Okay. Yeah, they said DuckDuckGo is private as well. Okay. I see. Bjorn probably knew what it was. Okay, guys, let's look at the next term. Favicon. What is a favicon, guys? Baron said to leave him alone. Okay, sir. What is a favicon, guys? Somebody says the little icon. Okay, so favicon is the icon associated with a particular website, typically displayed in the address bar of a browser. And I can show you. Here's an example of a favicon here. So anytime you go on a more established websites have this, and you see the little favicon here, one, it kind of legitimizes the website, so you as a user know that you're on the right site, because you have duplicate sites. You have people going around duplicating popular websites for their own nefarious reasons. So this is one way of knowing that you're on a legit site, although it can be faked as well. But anyways, this is what you call a favicon. All right. HTTP and HTTPS. So it's HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Guys, I cannot think of any situation that will ever arise where you're gonna have to remember this. I just wanted to introduce you to some website terms, so when you hear it, at least you have a vague memory of what this thing is. Okay, so just HTTP, and the HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. So, and HTTPS is how information, so text, image, videos, are exchanged from a web server, the host, where they are stored, to your browser, where they are viewed. Okay? So when you go on a domain name, what happens is the information that's on that website or on those website pages, that information is pulled from the server and sent to the browser so you can view it. And it's this protocol that allows that to happen. And this is just part of internet communication language, guys, okay? Because we can look at hypertext, and what hypertext is what we call internet language. It's the language of the internet, like how we have like language where words mean different things and within context, blah blah blah. It's kind of the same thing. So I don't know if you've ever heard of rich text and hypertext and stuff. It's just internet communication language, or I wouldn't say computer language, but it's internet language, and it's how the internet communicates, right? But then you don't see the back end of that. You just see the pretty things from the front end. Yes, and that's really all we need to see, right? So that's what an HTTP is. Now, how does an HTTP become secure? Well, that's through your SSL certificate. A lot, guys, Jamaica Observer don't have a secure website. When you go on it, you will see a little red X up in the top, at least the last time I checked. There's like a red X up in the top because Google is saying to them on a website no secure, it no encrypted, because I don't know if them SSL certificate run out and then renew it or what. I'm gonna show you guys. But anyways, SSL certificate stands for Secure Sockets Layer, and what it is, it's a small file that is placed on a server that encrypts all the information that's on that server that is being exchanged between the server and the browser. So again, your information is, you put up your video, your blog, your whatever, it's on the server. For me to be able to access it as a viewer, I'm gonna have to go through the browser. The browser pulls the information from the server. But if I want that information to stay safe and encrypted, then I have a SSL certificate, especially for e-commerce sites or any sites where you're asking people for their data or for them information, whether credit card information, etc. You have to make sure that you have a SSL certificate. Guys, make a quick go look and see if Jamaica Observer have get them SSL certificate. Make a quick go look. Jamaica. Oh, them get it. You see that lock there, guys? That lock means it's secure. Connection is secure. Okay. Before, guys, it wasn't. And I even had to message them on Twitter one time and say, guys, I don't know if it's on a website. So apparently they fixed it, but it was, I mean, for a good year and odd, it was like that. So I'm glad that they have now secured. So guys, if you notice, when you click on that lock, when that lock look like it's actually locked, it means the website is secure. When there's no lock on it, it means it's not secure. What Google does is it will put a red X right there, and Google will tell you that the site is not secure. So guys, when you click on that lock, you notice you'll see the domain name. It tells you that the connection is secure. It says your information, for example, passwords, credit card numbers, is private when it is sent to this site. The certificate tells that the certificate is valid. It also tells you that there are 101 cookies in use, and you can see all the cookies here. It also gives you site settings, so you can find out more about the Jamaica Observer's site settings and all the things that are on the site. So this is some of the information. Here is it again with a lock. So once you see the lock look like it's open, that means that the site is not secured. So good for Google, good for Observer, them step up in our life. Okay. The website's still janky, and I'm not afraid to say it. Anyways, moving on. So hyperlink. Hyperlink is a reference to data that the user can follow by clicking, tapping, or hovering. So if you go on a website and you see any text highlighted in blue or anything like that, you know it's hyperlink. And here's a video from Jessica in the Kitchen, where you click on the fresh spring rolls and you see it takes you to a different part of the website. So hyperlink points to a document or a specific element within a document, but hyperlink is usually internal linking. So you're linking from one part of your website to a different part of your website, right? And that's what we call hyperlinking. Is that the last one? Okay. So guys, we're now moving to website marketing quickly. So what is website marketing, guys? So now that we kind of have a basic understanding of what websites are, there are multiple pages, they're on internet, they're accessed through a browser, your information is kept on a server, you have to have your SSL certificate and your hosting and all of that. So you understand the basics of a website. Guys, again, I don't think there's any universe where you're going to need to know everything about a website. You really just need to know the basics to be able to operate your website effectively. And of course, you're going to need to know about website security. But when we're talking about website marketing, we're talking about how you are promoting your website, how you're going to drive traffic to your website because you have a particular goal. Remember, we're talking about what the purpose of the site is. You have a business goal because your marketing plan should be derived from whatever your business plan or your business goals are. So what was the goal? What is the purpose of the website, and how does that fit into the grand scheme of things? And what are you trying to do? So of course, every website is trying to attract people to the website. But why? Why are you trying to attract them to the website? And then when they come to the website, what do you want them to see, know, do? Right? So that's where it is important for you to start putting your marketing plan together that includes your website. Now, I found this diagram and I thought it was pretty interesting because of how it centers websites. Because how people find your website is important, whether they found it through your socials or through one of your other platforms. But mostly, if you're going on Google, most people these days will go on Google, they'll type in a keyword, and based on the keyword or search term or search phrase, same thing, that they type in, certain results are going to show up on what we call the search engine result page, right? And based on how you are ranked on that search engine will determine if your website even shows up on that search engine results page. And so if you have a website that nobody is seeing because it's not showing up on the search engine page, then it's not doing the heavy lifting that it should be doing, that you want it to be doing. So with website marketing, one of the main components of website marketing is SEO, and making sure that you're getting your SEO strategy right. Because if you get your SEO strategy right, which is really how you optimize your website so the search engine can find you, index you, rank you, and so that you can be visible on search engine results pages. That's what SEO is, right? And so you wanna put a SEO strategy together because you want, and you not just SEO, but you want to make sure that your content marketing is working, your social media is working. But there are also offline efforts that you have to put. So whether you put your business card with your email, with your website address, your socials on it, or whether you put ads out, whether on the radio or on the TV. Notice ads now, all of them end with visit our website or www, or find us on social media. So they're still incorporating, these are what we call offline efforts, where you're still using traditional channels to promote your digital channels or to traffic people to your digital channels. So this is why I liked this graphic, because then it kind of gives you a 7-step plan as to how you can effectively market your website. So step 1, make sure that your content is good, right? Quality content gets published. It may be syndicated content. And what I mean by syndicated content is content that you're sharing on multiple platforms. So say, for instance, I'll give you a real life example. I used to do a live show every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. I go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, right? We used to go live on those platforms simultaneously. We call it a simulcast, right? So after you go live, the video is now on our YouTube channel. And what I will do is I will create a blog post around that live, embed the YouTube video onto the website in the blog post, and in that way I am syndicating that piece of content. Or I will probably take a video that I create from some other channel, or say for instance the podcast, the Digital Jamaica podcast. What I'll do is I'll embed the podcast onto the website, and so you can listen to the podcast on the website. I'll create a blog around that so you can get more information, blah blah blah. That's syndicated content, right? Two, your content gets shares and likes, because whether again you're syndicated, or whether or not other people pick it up, or they come to your blog or whatever, it gets shared. Number three, your site gains subscribers while your social profile gains fans and followers. So if you have a situation where you will have a situation where people keep coming back to listen to your podcast or to read your blog, etc. So your site gains people who are always coming back. As well, people who will sign up for your newsletter to be notified when you have a new post out or whatever, right? Then from that, you're building a community around your website, around your socials, right? Because these are different places that they can find content. So you're building that community around your brand, around your business, and then community marketing starts to happen. And community marketing is where members of your community will make sure that they're sharing your content, they're talking about content, they're recommending your page or your product or whatever. So that's community-based marketing, and that reinforces your reputation, right? Your social looks legit, you're consistent over there, your SEO is working, you're ranking for your keywords, right? And you're now being seen as an authoritative brand in your niche or in your industry, right? And then the site gains authority in the search engine. Guys, let me tell you something. You see, anybody will tell you, say, you can put together an SEO strategy, and within 4, 5, 6 months, you're going to be ranking on the first page of Google. They're lying. They're lying. SEO is not a one-time strategy. More than any other strategy, it's something that you are continuously doing over and over and over, and every day you're tweaking and you're doing this and you're doing that. It changes. It changes. It's not static, and it takes a while for you to get that ranking. It takes a while. You can pay for it, but SEO is usually organic. SEO is usually an organic kind of strategy. It becomes not organic when we talk about search engine marketing, but SEO is usually organic. Anyway, guys, and number 7 is consistently growing your streams of users and discover your site organically through SEO, right? So you're using social media, you're using email marketing, you're sending people to your website, and it just becomes that cycle, right? And this is how you can create a really good strategy for yourself. Now, here are some important elements of website marketing, and this is similar to what we just saw before, but this is really, I think, this is centering your website. So they call this the mothership, which is your website, right? And so the first element is the content. People don't pay attention to the content on their website and just put something on the site. Just as how you have to think through what content you're going to create for social media, you're careful with that process of developing content. It's even more so on your website, because now it's you want to be ranked in on search engines. You want people to be able to find you on your website, and your website is saying to people, I'm sophisticated. Your website is saying to people, I'm legitimate. You can't say to people you're sophisticated and legitimate and your website janky and terrible, and your content no good, and it out of date, like 4 years out of date, or you know what I mean? So your content has to be really good. It has to be well thought out. If it's blogging, your blog have to be well written. I've seen really terrible blogs. Information is fine, but the blog itself is terrible. You have to make sure that the images that you're using is high quality, the videos that you're using is high quality, and there are ways of getting videos and images on your website without slowing down your website, so it takes forever to load. So content is important, guys. With any strategy, you always have to pay attention to your community. You always have to pay attention to your community, whether it's your social networks, your email. You always have to build a community around your brand or your business, because they can offer you something invaluable, and that is legitimizing you, that is making you attractive to other people, and it's promoting you as well, right? And it's usually free organic promotion. It's not usually something that you have to even ask them to do once they like you, okay? Of course, we have online promotion. So email, mobiles, SEO, and pay-per-click, or what we call search engine marketing, right? And then you have offline marketing. So PR, we don't pay a lot of attention to PR, but PR is important. Event marketing and traditional advertising on radio and TV, in the papers, wherever. So you can't necessarily leave out the offline marketing too, but if you are not going that route, as in spending money to go that route, it's not a bad thing. But say for instance you have an event coming up, you may want to get on a Smile Jamaica or Miss Kitty to go talk about the event coming up. That's what we call offline marketing activities, right? So you get a free space on their platform to talk about your event. And you will get that free space if they're interested in what you're doing. Sometimes they come to you and ask you to come and talk about, I have been asked to come and talk about social media and digital marketing and literacy and all sorts of stuff. So I have been in those spaces talking about these things, and of course that's free marketing for my site. So I say, guys, if you want to know more, go to my website or go to my social media pages, etc. So there are ways and means of doing that, right? All right, and guys, we're gonna wrap up with website marketing term to know, because I think our guest is here. All right, so let's look at backlinks. What are backlinks? Backlinks, or inbound links, is a hyperlink on a website that links back to a page on another website. So just as before you had hyperlinks that were internal, which means it's linking from one thing on your website to another thing, with a backlink, it's literally what it sounds like. It's linking back to another website. Now, depending on the quality and the quantity, sometimes, of the backlinks, you can significantly improve your SEO, your website ranking. But we do have backlink farms that SEO search engines don't like, and you can get yourself in trouble if you go buy backlinks, but that's a different story. So let's look at an example of backlinking. So if you look at this site, you'll see again the highlight. If you click on the highlight, it takes you to a different site. So sometimes when you're referencing another article or referencing something that happened elsewhere, where maybe somebody had a better explanation of it and you want to link back to that, or maybe that's an affiliate site or something, you want to link back to something else, or maybe it's your article that was published on another site and you want to link back to that, that's what we call backlinks, right? And backlinks are is an important component of SEO, but you have to make sure that you're doing it properly. You're not trying to cheat the system. Okay, with alternative text came up the last time. Now, alternative text, or alt text, is the descriptive text you see if an image doesn't load, or when you roll over an image on a web page. And what it does is it improves user experience, especially for persons who are visually impaired. But what it also does is it's help you find things. So let's look at this. So if I type in internet sleuths solve crime, and I go to images, you see this image comes up. And if I click on this image, what I can do is right click here, click inspect, and you'll see it comes up and it says alternative text. And so the name of the image is How Internet Sleuths on Facebook and Reddit Solve the 20-Year-Old Mystery of a Missing Teenager, the Washington Post. That's actually the name of the image. And that's how sometimes when you are looking for like images for whatever you search in Google, that's how Google is able to find relevant images for you, because they have all text or alternative text on the image. And it's also used for search. So it's also used for search as well. Okay? What else? SEO, search engine optimization, and what it refers to is how you optimize or improve or enhance your website and online activities for search engines so they can easily find you, index and rank you. And this is kind of the process of SEO. So you use main keywords, you develop a structure for keywords on each page, you make sure that your content strategy game is up. You optimize each page on your website for a keyword. You share your content to increase exposure. You do your backlinking, and that's what they call link building here. You continuously work on improving your SEO, and then you get analyzed and rank based on the kind of traffic that is coming to your website. This graph, guys, is in the resource folder. And as I said before, SEO is usually an organic based tactic, although there are non-organic ways to do it, which are oftentimes illegal. But it's usually organic based. But if you can pay to have your website ranked. So, and that's what we call SEM, search engine marketing, or pay per click, right? And you're using paid tactics to increase the visibility of a website in search engine results page. So this is where you click. So I was typing in SEM meaning as an example here, and then this ad, and it will say ad, so you'll know it's an ad, came up for this site, right? So this is an example of search engine marketing. And then we have bounce rate. Now, bounce rate is a metric, and what it tells you is the percentage of users who visit your website or your landing page without taking any action. They don't visit any other page, they just come on one page and they leave, right? And how you calculate your bounce rate is you look at page visits, how many people left your website after viewing one page, and your page entrances, how many people viewed a certain page as a first touch point of your website. And I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, you go to digitaldisruptionagency.com, right? And you go on the home page. That's what we call an entrance, your first visit to that site. And let's say you get 1 mark for that. Visit your site, 1 mark, right? Say you visited that site and you didn't do anything else. You just went on the website, that page of the site, and you came off, right? But say next day you go back on the website, and when you went back on the website, you went on different pages and blah blah blah. So what the bounce rate is calculated is how many one page visits per entry. So the visit that happens the day after is considered another visit, a different visit, and that doesn't count. If you understand what I'm saying, I may not be explaining that right, but just know that when it comes to bounce rate, what they're calculating is how much people just visit your page one time or your site one time and do nothing else. And if that's what keeps happening with your site, then you have what is called a high bounce rate, and that's not good. At least it's not always good. So yeah, there are different people saying that this is a different percentage of bounce rate is good or not good, but I say it really all depends. Is Sheldon here? Are you here, Sheldon?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm here. Are you hearing me?
Sheldon, are you here?
Yes. Are you hearing me? You're not hearing me? Hello?
I know
All
you're
right.
hearing. No, I'm asking if Sheldon is here. Sheldon is our guest.
All right. So everyone else is hearing me. So it means Jacqueline is not hearing me.
Hold on, guys. I hear him. I can't hear anything. Oh, you guys are hearing him. Why am I not hearing him then? Oh, it's because I turned off my speaker. I'm sorry. Hi, Sheldon.
Hi. How are you doing?
Feeling very foolish. Okay. Hi, Sheldon.
That's fine. That's fine. It happens to everyone, so that's
It
fine.
happens to everyone. Let me quickly introduce you, Sheldon. My apologies for running a little bit over. So, guys, Sheldon Harrison is a certified search engine optimization specialist, amongst other things. He's a digital marketing specialist and analyst with a focus on SEO and SEM, or PPC, and analytics. And Sheldon helps brands drive growth and transformation through digital marketing, customer experience optimization, and fully integrated online marketing. So, in other words, Sheldon knows the things when it comes to internet marketing, web marketing, all that good stuff. And Sheldon is going to share with us some of his knowledge around that this morning. So, welcome, Sheldon. Before you go, Sheldon, somebody says, if hyperlinking is linking within your site, what is called when you link outside of your site? So, what I was saying is, I was referring to hyperlinking within your own website. So I was talking about when you link from one website to another website. So if I said it only happens within your website, that would have been incorrect. So I apologize if that's what I actually said. But I wanted to separate it in your mind, the difference between backlinking and hyperlink. But if that's what I said, I was incorrect. So I apologize for that.
All right.
All right, Sheldon, for some reason you're showing up as Talika, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if that person was in the room. Oh,
No,
that's
she's one of our guest presenters as well, and I think I may have sent you her link accidentally, but it never mind, you're here, so
all right.
we can go
All right, that's fine. I don't mind
if
being
you want
Talika.
to.
That's a nice name. All right. All right. Morning, everyone. I'm going to jump in, and thanks, Jacqueline, for that introduction. And you're doing a pretty amazing job of explaining those areas of digital that I feel from time to time, even being in the space that's a little bit complex. So you're doing a good job of explaining it in the best way you can.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add to your hyperlink explanation,
Yes,
just
please.
for clarification, just a little clarification. So you're not wrong, but hyperlink just describes the link itself.
Yes.
So it is just, if you are a coder, a web developer, then you would be wrapping your link in a piece of HTML element.
Yes.
Yes. And that is described, or as what we call an attribute that describes it as a hyperlink. But yes, just to explain it in the most basic term, you have outbound links that we refer to as backlinks. It means a site is linking back to your site. And you have internal linking. That is very, very important. And one of the reasons it's very important is you have pages that get a lot of traffic. You want to link to pages that don't get a lot of traffic, to share what we call link juice, to have the user, being able to navigate further down into your site. So linking is very important to get to those pages that don't get a lot of traffic. That's one. And two, linking is important for user experience. And that should be the first objective or priority for any optimization of a website. You optimize for user, then search engines. All right. So good morning again, everyone. I want to welcome everyone. I'm going to provide an abbreviated version of introduction to SEO. And this is the reason. This simplified version had to be put together because SEO, while it's an exciting discipline, it can be complicated. And no one session will allow us to clearly understand SEO. But I'm going to attempt to bring you to a level of understanding, and hopefully you will have a few questions for me at the end, and I will be able to explain a little bit more. And I guess we could, do more sessions like this where we can explain a little bit more on the benefits of SEO to all businesses of all types. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay. All right. Jacqueline, are you able to
Sheldon, it's
allow
me,
me to share?
Kadia. I was just, I didn't
Katie,
change the name.
oh, Katie,
Yes, it's me. It's me. It's
oh,
me.
but I was wondering how the face. I was saying, hold on, you must have a twin. But all right. Could you allow me to? It's not allowing me to share screen.
Oh, what? I'm not sure why. Okay, there you go.
Let me try again. All right. I am going to go ahead and begin. All right. I got, Katie, I did the introduction already, so I don't need to say anything else about myself, other than I am a big sci-fi movie fan. That's what I do in my spare time. I like to watch a lot of sci-fi movies. I'm a big Star Trek and Star Wars fan. If you could see my shirt now, sorry about me not being on
Welcome to the
camera.
club.
You would see me in a Star Wars shirt. All right. So I say that to say that technology and a fascination with the internet, with computers, has always been a part of who I am. For the most part of my 16 years of working, or over 16 years, I spent it in various roles, but I've always kept close to the world of technology. So 4 years ago, I decided to switch my area of work to get into what I'm really passionate about. And digital at the time was the area that I think there was a need for the most development in this region. I'm very focused on the Caribbean region and in Jamaica in specific because of where we are in terms of digital, the opportunities that are available for businesses and individuals, and also just the sheer, acceleration of technology and what opportunities it will provide for a small island like Jamaica. All right. So that's one of the reasons I'm in digital, and that's what drives me. Now I'm just going to do a quick overview. I'm going to cover all these areas and maybe a little bit more, depending on how much is required to explain, but I'll be looking at search engines and how they work. What is a SERP? And this SERP is for search engine results pages. It's just simply where you type in something in Google and you get the results. How search engine processes queries, how people use search engine, SEO, and I'm going to look a little bit at black hat SEO. Kadia mentioned a few things earlier. I'm going to also repeat some of those recommendations, and we can look at it in depth if there are any questions. All right. Now, I'm going to start out with how does the internet work? So before we can talk about some of the things that make up SEO, we have got to start with the basics. How the internet and search engines work. How does the internet work boils down to the simplest concept. The internet is really just a huge collection of pages that are connected by links. I like to use cities as a metaphor. A website is like a house, where each room in the house is a different page on the site, with hallways and stairs connecting the different rooms, but the room adds up to a cohesive whole. You have different houses on the street, but everything in the neighborhood is related. If you add even more houses, you end up with a city. Think of links like the roads. This little area here, think of links like the roads, all right? They connect the different buildings and neighborhoods together. A big popular website is like a large office building. with lots of roads leading to it. It's easy to see, and there are plenty of different ways to get there. If you're building a new website, it's like you're adding a new building to the city. Where would you rather have that building? Sorry, you can't see my screen. If you're right up the intersection of the freeway and several cross streets, it will be a popular location that's easy to find. But if you build it outside of the town, in the middle of a huge field, no one will know it's there. And that's what a lot of websites actually do. Build a website, there is no way for Google to find that website. So you're in Never Land. Nobody knows you're there. The reality is 90% of the websites in the world are not, at this point in time, let me restate it. 90% of the web pages in the world have not been crawled by Google. Data shows that about 10% of websites in the world get 90% of the traffic on the net. What that simply means, a lot of websites out there that Google are either not able to crawl or they refuse to crawl because of different reasons. And we will talk about it a little bit more as we go along. All right. Now, back into the beginning of the World Wide Web, when there weren't that many sites, you could only reach a website by typing the address of the page or by clicking a link to another site. In the early 90s, the web had grown too large to sustain such a simple navigation and discovery process. The first search engine was born. Now users could type keywords in the search engine and receive a list of websites related to the search phrases. Excite, I don't know if any of you guys familiar with these search engines, but Excite, Alta Vista, and Yahoo, which still around, quickly changed the way that people were using the internet. In the late 1990s, Larry Page and Sergey Brin were working on their own search engine. Google, we know it to be today. And they were the first to use links as a signal of authority and trust. When Google was finally released, it quickly became the favored search engine because of the quality of the search results far surpassed the other options. The search engines created advanced algorithms that analyze hundreds of factors for each website, both on and off the website. And we spoke about links. So that's how they on and off the website. When we talk about links, we're talking about off-page optimization. So they're looking at things like, that upvote from another site that links to your site. If that site has a good reputation, then you get a little bit of that relevance and reputation passed to your site. Hence, you'll be ranked higher for that certain search term. All right. So the algorithms are constantly updated and adjusted to ensure that search results are the best they can be. And if you guys understand algorithms, they're simply just math equations. And that algorithms really change the way we do search today because of those equations and the continuous development of better and better equations and even applying artificial intelligence and machine learning to searches. Now, search engines. What is a search engine? I have a short video here, and I hope this explains well for you what a search engine is. So as soon as it's completed, we can get back. And maybe you will be able to understand a little bit more of how search engines work.
Hi there. Let's discover more about how search engines work. We'll give you the basics on how search engines find web pages.
I'm not hearing anything. We're not hearing, Sheldon.
Sorry,
Sheldon?
you're hearing that? Sorry,
which is
sorry
short
about it.
for
You hearing
robot.
it now?
The bots hop from page to
Yeah,
page
but it's
by
it's
following
low. You're
up
sharing your audio as well?
what they
Yeah,
do
hold
with the
on for me.
pages. They find and how they decide what results to show.
Any better? Any better?
When you're using a search engine to find the closest coffee shop,
A ton
you're
better.
probably not
A
thinking
ton
about the
better.
technology behind it all.
Let me start this over. Sorry about that.
More about how search engines work. We'll give you the basics on how search engines find web pages, what they do with the pages they find, and how they decide what results to show. When you're using a search engine to find the closest coffee shop, you're probably not thinking about the technology behind it all. But later, you might wonder, how did that search engine do that? How did it sort through the entire internet so quickly and choose the result you saw on the page? Each search engine uses its own software program, but they all work in a similar way. They all perform three basic tasks. First, they examine the content they learn about and have permission to see. That's called crawling. Second, they categorize each piece of content. That's called indexing. And third, they decide which content is most useful to the searchers. That's called ranking. Let's take a closer look at how these work. Search engines crawl the internet to discover content like web pages, images, and videos. Each search engine uses computer programs to make their way through the pages. These are known as crawlers, spiders, or bots, which is short for robot. The bots hop from page to page by following links to other pages. These bots never stop. Their sole purpose is to visit and revisit pages looking for new links and new content to include in the index. Indexing is the second part of the process. The index is a gigantic list of all the web pages and content found by the bots. The search engine uses this index as a source of information displayed on the search results pages. But not everything the bot finds makes it onto a search engine's index. Search engines may find multiple copies of the exact same piece of content located on different websites. Is that even possible? Well, here's an example. Imagine you're not searching for a coffee shop, but a coffee maker. You might notice that the top of the line Coffee King 2000 has the same word-for-word description on the websites of many major retailers. The description might have been provided by the manufacturer. But now, the search engine has a decision to make as to which version to keep in the index. There's no need for hundreds of duplicates, so it's unlikely that every page will be added. So, what if you own a website that's selling coffee makers? You're likely better off writing your own description of the Coffee King 2000. Make sense? Right, that covers crawling and indexing, which just leaves us with ranking. Think about what happens after you type in a search. The search engine compares the words and phrases to its index and looks for matching results. But what if it brings up hundreds of millions of matching results? This is where its next important task kicks in: ranking. The way search engines rank pages is top secret. It's kind of their special sauce. There are literally hundreds of ways search engines determine rank, including things like words on the page, the number of other websites linking to it, and the freshness of the content. But no matter what formula they use to determine rank, the goal remains the same: to try and connect the searcher with what they are looking for. Say you've read about an Australian-style cappuccino called a flat white, and you want to try it. If you search for flat white coffee near me, the search engine will show you nearby shops selling the drink because your search indicated your location. You might even see a map to help you find them. So, just to remind you, search engines are constantly working to scour the web for content, organize it, and then display the most relevant results to searchers. Understanding how this process works can come in really useful to your business as you try to climb higher in those important search results.
All right. Now, organic site traffic, and when we refer to organic site traffic, we're really and truly referring to SEO traffic. This is data captured from the acquisition report that sits in Google Analytics. And it breaks down all the different channels that are driving traffic to a given website. Now, based on my experience, even a minimally optimized website, when I look in the reports, acquisition reports in Google Analytics, usually organic accounts for the greater amount of traffic coming to the website. The reality in our region is that a lot of businesses are missing the opportunity to further optimize their websites to get that traffic, that natural traffic, that natural search traffic coming to their sites, because they are either not aware of how search engine optimization works, or too focused on paid advertising that only focuses on those commercial searches, branded searches mainly, and leave out the organic traffic that actually converts to customers or purchases at a greater rate than paid traffic. So you can see the traffic that coming through organic search, paid search, direct referral, social, and so on. For most websites across all industry verticals, organic search drives the highest percentage of session visits to the site. This demonstrates the importance of organic ranking, organic traffic, and overall SEO. Now, this is a search engine results page, or SERP. I hope you guys are able to see here on my screen. I've done two screenshots, one at the bottom here that looks at usually what comes up first would be your, when I came into the session, Kadia was explaining this quite well about, you know, the first 4 spots are usually paid spots. And then below that, you will start to see organic listings. So a search engine results, or SERP, is displayed by a search engine in response to queries from a searcher. All right. So search engines have one major function. They provide answers to users' queries through a list of relevant pages that they have retrieved and ranked for relevancy. You can do SEO, you can't do SEO without analyzing a ton of search engine results. It's important to understand the different elements on a SERP and how or why information shows up in each of the different areas. So let me walk you through the various elements that might show up in a SERP, depending on the phrase that's being searched. So at the top of the page, we'll see the paid results. Typically, you will see 4 ads. And if multiple ad extensions are showing, I don't see any ad extensions on these ones that I'm using an example, but ad extension is that those extra links below the result that you can click on. So this might be all you see above the fold. For some competitive terms, you might also see a block of AdWords or ads at the bottom of the page if you scroll down. All right. The SERP will also show the standard 10 blue links, as I'd mentioned before. And these are the organic links. All right. And this is where we're usually targeting our SEO efforts on these links. And the reason is most persons, and if you admit, usually move past the ads to click on the organic results because because in everyone's mind, these are the most relevant and the ones that Google trusts the most. And I don't know what happens subconsciously, but for me, it's not something I think about. It's something I just do. Usually, and before I had knowledge of search engine optimization and the value of those links, those blue links. So I don't know. All right. Now, the SERP layout has some other features. So what I mentioned a while ago are the basics. All right. Beyond the standard organic and paid listing, you could also see any combination of the following 12 elements. Feature snippets. A feature snippet is a quick answer. The summary of an answer to a search query pulled from an authoritative web page. The snippet displays the source page title and URL as well. There are 3 kinds of feature snippets based on the type of query and the format of the answer. Paragraph snippets, list snippets, so this can also come in a list form, and table snippet. Usually you get that for things like if you are looking, say, for COVID-19 figures, you may get a table. If you're looking for the answer to a math question, an economic question, something of that sort, you may get tables as a result, depending on what Google deems as relevant to answering that question. Most featured snippets are paragraph snippets, something like this here. Snippets are displayed above the organic search results, effectively creating a position 0. Now sorry, I don't remember my SEO colleague's name, but this was noticed about a year ago or so, or maybe more than that, that Google now applies what we call a 0 position. And featured snippet usually dominates that space. What this has changed or resulted in is a lot of search not being clicked to a website. And that's why it's very important that your website is optimized, because you have a lot of searches that are completed within Google search engine or within the query engine, this area here, that don't result in a click to a website. Because the user gets his or her question answered right here in the search engine. So there's no need in some cases to click to the website. All right. Now there's also shopping results. Sorry, I don't have an image of that. Site links, as I'd mentioned before, but I want to mention this one. It's called knowledge card or knowledge graph. Now, a knowledge card is typically appears at the top of the search engine result, and it's similar to a featured snippet. But instead of pulling answer from an authoritative page, they tend to be information that is in the public domain, either from human edited data, like Wikipedia is an example, or from a data stream from a Google partner. Unlike featured snippet, it's not an element that you would be able to target with your SEO efforts. So Google basically decides what they put in a knowledge graph. You're not able to influence that at all. There's also local related questions, tweets can also be a part of search engine results. So as you can see, the results vary. And with these variations comes opportunities for any website to be able to rank among any of these results. All right. Now, the search engine process, how search engines actually work. Now, generally speaking, all search engines have three main processes. The crawler, as mentioned before in the video before, the indexer, and the query engine. Now for the crawler, Google uses little programs called crawlers or spiders, which in Google is known as a Google bot or Google robot. That's a piece of software that continuously crawls the web, trying to find new links and updated pages. So search engines send out web crawlers to find new pages and record information about them. The purpose of these crawlers is to discover new web pages that exist and also to periodically check the content on pages they have previously visited to see whether they have changed or been updated. And this happens a lot for blog, especially for blog pages, where you're constantly updating information on those pages. So search engines crawl the web pages by following links, as I'd mentioned before, they have already discovered. So for example, they have already discovered another site and you're linking to that site, that outbound, that backlink. Google uses that link as a bridge to get onto your site and start the crawling process. You can also submit, once you have completed or launched a site, you can also submit a file through a tool called Google Search Console, asking Google to crawl your site, but there's no guarantee. It's a request, they usually respond to it, but it's no guarantee. Usually Google uses links to crawl to your site. If you're not linking to any sites out there, Google considers your site not worthy of indexing or ranking. So if, for example, you have a blog post and it's linked from a home page, when a search engine crawls your home page, it will then look for another link to follow and may follow the link to your new blog post. Websites, as I'd mentioned before, sometimes instruct search engines to crawl, so through that submission, but you can also instruct, and I'll replace this word instruct with suggest, because based on my experience, there's no guarantee that when you ask Google not to crawl certain web pages, they will do so. So it's usually a suggestion to them, Google, but they decide. So there's no guarantee when you block a page, and in some cases you do. Some pages, like, for example, like policy pages and things like that, you may not want Google to crawl those pages. One of the things I want to explain to you also is you have something in the SEO world that we call, there is a budget, crawl budget. What that simply means is that Google spends a certain amount of time on any website across the internet. You want to ensure that when Google crawling your site to rank, to index and rank your pages, they are crawling the pages that you want them to crawl and not wasting your crawl budget, that limited time, crawling pages that you don't want ranked. All right, and that can include, as I mentioned before, policy pages. It can also include duplicate pages. So you might do a minimal update on a page and you don't want Google, the pages are similar. This usually happens a lot for e-commerce sites, where there is a page that explains part of a product, and there's another page that is nearly exactly the same with just minimal difference, and you'd want Google not to be wasting budget crawling that page because it's not necessary. All right, So the next part of the process is the indexer. When the crawler finds something new, it sends them on to the indexer, which tries to make sense of what the crawler has found and sees what kind of keywords that page could be ranked for. The indexer then builds an index of rankable web pages. Now, when a web page or a piece of content is indexed, it is filed and stored in a database where it can later be retrieved. Most web pages that offer unique and valuable content are placed in the index. A web page might not be placed in the index if it is not mobile friendly. Very, very important. Most of website traffic searches happen on a mobile. The majority at least starts on a mobile. So if Google deems your page not be mobile friendly, it may not index that page. If the content is considered a duplicate, simply means you copy that content from another website, Google may ignore it. If the content is considered low value or spammy, Google will also ignore it. If it couldn't be crawled, means that within your code of your website, there's a lot of elements blocking the crawler from crawling. Google moves on. Google has millions of websites to crawl. So they'll quickly move on. If the page or domain lacks inbound links, that backlink, then Google may choose not to crawl your site. Now, the ranking phase, the final phase, in this stage, the query engine in the front end of Google, where the user enters search terms and where Google interprets what the user has typed in and selects the best possible results from the index to show in its search results. Again, relevancy and trust are the key factors that Google uses to determine which of the new results deserve to be ranked near the top. So once a search engine has crawled and indexed your site can be ranked. Now, if any of you guys here have done any college research or university research, you understand trust and relevance in terms of how you write content, how content is sourced, all of that is basically what Google is doing is they have set their own parameters as to how they, rank a page and what they look for. And there's 200 or so data points in terms of ranking factors, most of which we really don't know. The major one is for us SEOs we focus on is technical optimization, on-page optimization, and off-page optimization. But Google has up to 200 ranking factors, and they're constantly changing and adding ranking factors. So some other things that Google look for when they're ranking the site is your keyword presence in the title tag, and that's that description in the browser tab, where the keywords or synonyms have been mentioned within the title tag. The keywords are mentioned there, then Google will say, okay, this site may be relevant for the particular search. Load speed of a web page. Now, there are ways to test the speed of a web page to find out if it is loading fast. Anything over 2 seconds is considered slow. And Google may not rank that page, because Google does rank web pages, not website, individual pages, may not rank that page, and maybe by extension that website, well, because it's slow. All right, so human being attention span is really very low, and persons bounce off site, and Katie spoke about bounce rate before. You will report a high bounce rate if your load speed is too slow. As persons really don't have any patience, they will just leave. All right. So that's part of what Google considers core web vitals, user experience on a website. Where they look at, and I don't want to get into a lot of technical jargons, but they look at things like load speed, interactivity, means how, if you click on the site, how quickly it responds, and visual stability. If the site is stable, and if it moves and shifts a lot, then Google, if those things aren't, thresholds are not met, then Google will view your site as, you know, providing a bad user experience. And at the end of the day, Google is really, really interested in the user of the website. All right. Also, website reputation is a part of how Google rank your site. So whether the web page or website is considered reputable for the topic being searched for. So Google will look at your website overall and say, listen, well, are you relevant for this search term? You know, have you developed a reputation for providing valuable responses to queries of this sort? Google does look at that too. All right. Now, how people use search engine. This is a very interesting because we're looking at keywords here. So generally speaking, all searches that people make on a search engine can be classified as one of the following three types: do, know, or go. So do are transactional queries. So I want to do something such as buy a plane ticket or listen to a song. All right. And if you guys can really look back, it's basically all three of these is basically all that you do in a search engine. All right. No, these are informational queries. I need information, such as the name of a band or something of the sort, or the best restaurant in Kingston. Or go, informational queries. Navigational queries. I want to go to a particular place on the internet, such as Facebook or the homepage of the National Commercial Bank. All right. Search engines identify types of search queries, informational, navigational, transactional, and will show the most relevant and appropriate search results that satisfy the searcher's needs. Now, this wasn't included here, but how you get to respond to whether it's a transactional, informational, or, sorry, I have informational twice here. I'm really, really sorry. It should be navigational, all right? Now, how you decide on what your website responds to in terms of a query is doing keyword research. And that can take many forms. One easy way to do keyword research is to type the search term into Google search results, and any suggestions that you see they give, there is an indication or a hint as to what persons are searching for in terms of that specific keyword or key phrase. So I usually start with two things: brainstorming, going directly to Google, and I'll use something called Google Keyword Planner that's available in Google, the Google Ads Manager platform. And I'd use another tool called Answer the Public to conduct my keyword research. I also use a lot of other tools, but they are paid tools, but usually I start there. All right. Now, I want to look at the user, what the user goes through when they do a search. So this is an outline of common process people go through when using a search engine. First, number one, the experience needs for an answer. All right? Solution or a piece of information. So you become aware that you have the need for something. The next step is you formulate that need into a string of words or phrases, also known as a query or keyword. The third step, you enter the query into a search engine. Most likely Google. Google is the most used. search engine in the world, and in our region, the only, I think, because I rarely ever use Bing or anything else. I know most persons use Google. So at step 4, you browse through the paid or organic results for a match. At step 5, you click on the most appealing results or result. Then next, once on the website, you scan for a solution or a link to that solution. All right, and that's how internal linking may come in. You may, the page that the user land on may not answer their question, but there's further information way down in the site. So that's why it's important that you have your internal linking set up where they can click on that hyperlink and go to our next page, or they can navigate, whether through the nav bar or any feature they set up to allow them to navigate. If satisfied, once the website is scanned for a solution or link to that solution, if satisfied, that's step 7, or if unsatisfied or you're not satisfied, usually return to the search result and browse for another link, or perform a new search with refining or refinements to the query. All right. Now, finally, we get to search engine optimization. It's a definition. So search SEO is a process. It's not something that you do once and then forget about it. SEO needs constant attention and focus. SEO is long-term. 6 months or more in some cases to see any meaningful results. So for SEO, you're playing a long game. Paid is for those immediate results that you need. But bear in mind, for paid campaigns, once you stop paying, you stop getting traffic immediately. For organic, you could stop doing SEO for a while and continue to get traffic because of the work you have done before. But I always say SEO requires investment, mostly in personnel. For example, for a specialist like me, most of the money comes in my chart, my costing, developing content. But for the most part, it's a long game. So it's not something that is immediate, because your website is not a static finished thing. It's something that requires constant effort to improve and optimize. Now, before you start any SEO project, you should always set your SEO objectives. What can you accomplish with SEO? First, we should start with establishing a baseline of performance to measure progress again. So you should always set up your Google Analytics, set up for a period of time, pull those reports, look in Google Analytics, and then we can look at several key metrics that determine SEO success. These include some of the objectives: improve traffic from organic search. So in Web Analytics or Google Analytics, you look at visits per traffic source. If you're looking at an objective to improve sales or / conversions from organic search, again in Google Analytics, you will be looking at sales and conversion per traffic source. And you would set that up to track conversions prior. So you'd look at that and look at, the tactics you're going to use to improve that. So you're going to diagnose the problem. If improve visibility in search engine is one of your objectives, then you're going to look at rank tracking. So it is ranking on targeted keywords. So you may look at a list of keywords and say, those are the keywords that I want to be visible for. And you will deliberately go after targeting those keywords and set that as an objective. Now, SEO is broadly broken out, as I'd mentioned before, into 3 main areas: technical SEO, on-page SEO, which is usually content marketing, so SEO content marketing, off-page SEO, which is classified as trust and links, and we had mentioned it before. Hello?
We're here, Sheldon. We're here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So technical SEO is, and let's start with technical SEO. Technical SEO is all about making your website easily crawlable and indexable. All right. So this is where everything starts. All right. If your website is not technically optimized, all that you do on that site, whether it is your on-page efforts or your off-page effort, is for naught. Because if Google cannot crawl the site, Google cannot rank the site. So there are lots of different technical elements. Some of the most important ones are site speed, mentioned earlier, HTTP status code, and this is whether or not your site, or it should be HTTPS secured. If your site is not secured, Google will not crawl and rank your site. It is an open ranking factor. All right. Geotargeting, looking at what we call it in international SEO, using codes within it for language searches for the website to shift to different languages. All right. Or the keywords that you use, depending on where you're located or where your customers or potential customers are located, you have to use that language. Also, site structure and internal linking, mentioned this many times before, but the structure of your site, you know, how many clicks the user has to make to get to a certain page, certain pages on your site, it should be no more than 3 clicks away from the home page. So in terms of how we go about working with the developer to set up the site structure into a flat structure and not so deep. And these are technical stuff that you would work with a web developer to fix. Duplicate content. Now, duplicate content is a big no-no for Google. So where duplicate content exists, you must always canonicalize it. Means direct Google to the piece of content that you want to be crawled, and Google will decide whether or not it's a duplicate of another page out there. But on your site specifically, I'm talking about, you know, ensure that you set up the right codes pointing to the pages or telling Google crawler what page you want them to run. Because if Google sees 2 pages and don't know what to crawl, they're not going to crawl any of them in some cases. All right. Content structure, very important. How you go about writing content, very important. You don't want to do keyword stuffing where Google sees that you are using a keyword too often, things like that. Structured data. It's a very technical term here, but it simply means information that you put on a website in the coding that allows Google to display certain pieces of information in the search result. As you get deeper, if you're interested in SEO, you get deeper, you will realize that this is a pretty simple thing. But it can be complex if you're not really familiar with SEO or coding. And XML sitemaps. These are maps of your website, content of your website that you submit to Google, saying to Google, these are all the pages on my site. And you update that periodically as you change or add pages. To assess a website's technical SEO, we usually emulate or mimic a Google crawl of the site using a variety of different tools. What you'll find in SEO is that SEO is very tool intensive. There are free and paid tools, a lot of tools, very expensive tools in some cases. But we use a lot of tools in the space to assess website and to monitor. So these tools will then generate reports of what went well in the crawl. And this is for the technical part of it, the technical audit, and what went wrong. So usually I'll pull these reports, go through them. Some platforms do make recommendations. Others, you have to go in manually and assess while SEO is not a requirement for you to have coding knowledge, a website development knowledge, or things like that, it is an asset, because then you're able to speak to developers where necessary, or in some cases, for smaller brands, you're able to make those changes on your own. All right. So we can use this data to determine how well optimized, and that's the data we get from these tools, to well optimize a website technical SEO is and what needs to be done to improve it further. Now, usually for a major technical audit, it's usually done once. It's not something that you are going to do very often. But when it is done, especially for large sites, it can be a task. All right. So when doing technical SEO, there are a number of tools we use, and these include both free and paid. Usually, free tool for technical SEO is what we call Google Search Console. It used to be Google Web Development Tool. So it's a free tool that Google will give you access to once you have proven that you have an administrative access to a website. Usually being an admin on a site, Google Analytics profile is sufficient. You also have some paid tools. You guys can make note of them. These are when you're getting really deep into SEO, like Screaming Frog, SEO Spider, Deep Crawl, just to name a few. Now for on-page SEO, and this is the content piece. It's before I go any further, I want you guys to look at what a perfectly optimized website look like. All right. So it has the following element. Once a site is perfectly optimized, it has the following elements. And again, these can be a little bit technical in some areas. I spoke about title tag before describing the topics. And this is where we'll find our title tag right here. Page title, Chocolate Donut, Mary's Bakery. All right. So it should describe the topic and contains the main keyword. Main keyword here is chocolate donuts. So this is what the bakery is selling, promoting. This is the keyword they're going after. And then there is below what we call meta description. If you're familiar with search engine results, you will see this piece, this area here. And that contains a short summary of the page content. Now, just like in any document, formal document, there is a heading. So a strong headline that aligns with the title tag and also contains the keyword. Again, the keyword is used, chocolate donuts. Then well-written content, body content, more content, better. That explains the topic in detail. Any image on the site should have an optimized alt attribute to help with the page's relevance. And you see the alt attribute here also contains the keyword chocolate donut, a photo of a donut. And the page should also contain links to other pages. All right. So see links to other pages on the site and trusted external sites. And these are the backlinks. All right. And then lastly, a call to action. Tell the user of coming to the site what they should do. You understand? Is it that you want them to move on to another page? Is that part of your call to action? Tell them what to do. So a strong call to action tells the reader what you want them to do. Like read more, buy now, contact us, add to cart, things like that. All right. Now, for content, wanted to go a little bit deeper into content. Now, content has to do with on-page optimization. When your website is technically sound, the next thing to look at is the content on the site. So it's important that you understand that search engines rank web pages rather than websites. I'd mentioned that before. And that's every page on your site should be optimized for its own topic, which can be a keyword or a set of keywords. Content marketing is the tactic that we use to grow our website's relevance and authority in search engines by publishing and promoting great content. Content marketing is creating publication, distribution, and management of content in various formats: text, video, image, interactive pieces of content to help establish the online brand as a leader in the industry. All right? And these are some of the content types. You know, for entertaining, you could, you know, put a game, video on the site, competitions, depending on the vertical. All right? Now, let's see. I wanted to look at links a little bit more, trust links. So great content alone is not enough to rank in Google. Your website also needs to be trusted. Google calculates the trustworthiness of your website through its PageRank algorithm. This is what made Google unique when it first launched and remains an important part of their ranking algorithm. Basically, PageRank means that your website needs to be linked to from other trusted websites that upvote. You understand? To show Google that your site is important and authoritative and that your content can be trusted. Without links, it's very hard, if not impossible, to achieve high rankings in Google. All right? Now, I headed this Black Hat SEO, but everything else that I mentioned before in terms of writing content, technically optimizing your site, linking to other sites, are considered white hat activities. Now there is what we call Black Hat SEO, and this is actions that you may take, and I heard Kadia mention some before, that can lead to your site being removed from the search engine entirely, blocked by Google, or there could be a limited penalty on your site, things like that. So usually, I ask persons to stay away from these activities. I don't. I'm approached by link factories every single day, especially on LinkedIn, trying to sell me links. That's something I stay away from because that can be damaging, especially for a big site. That site can be removed entirely from the index of Google. So stay away from link schemes. So while you need links to rank in Google, Google really doesn't like it when you go out there and get links. Google wants you to earn links the hard way. In their guidelines, Google states that any link intended to manipulate a site's ranking can potentially be seen as a violation of their guidelines and could lead to a penalty, as I'd mentioned before, that could rule out nearly all link building tactics. So you need to be careful and make sure that any link that you get to your website looks like it's a perfect, valid, earned link. And the algorithms and artificial intelligence tools that Google use are very good at figuring out these things. So Google penalties. If you are not careful, Google can penalize your website for violating its guidelines. A penalty will have an effect on how the website ranks in Google search results. You could get a partial penalty, as I'd mentioned before. This means that the website is penalized for a specific topic or site section and will no longer rank for the keyword that applies to that topic or section. Or also a site-wide penalty. This applies to the entire website. This could result in your whole website disappearing from Google search results. That's the worst kind of penalty you can get. Generally speaking, Google will penalize websites for blatant paid links. If you buy links, all right? using link networks, like the ones I'd mentioned before that reach out to me all the time, spamming websites to get links. Links need to look natural, earned, and endorsed from one website to another. That's how Google keeps the integrity of their search engine. All right? Now, any questions? I think that's it for me. That's the best I could do to condense.
That was awesome.
Yes, condense it. There's much, much more. I must point out there is much, much more to search engine optimization. I could spend the entire day going through and still not cover. But it's a very interesting area. And I hope that persons will either take the opportunity to get into search engine optimization in terms of using it on your websites, creating your website and trying to optimize it. And if anyone is interested in trying to learn it, there are a lot of content out there. And I would be happy to share if persons are interested. All right.
And hopefully Sheldon will contribute to some of those topics, because Sheldon, we all know that SEO, depending on where you are, it matters, because you have localized SEO as well.
Yes.
And you and I know, Sheldon, a lot of the information out there is not relevant to us in this
Yes.
or may not be useful to us. So hopefully in the future, Sheldon will have workshops and stuff, because guys, there was a sub conversation happening in the chat, Sheldon, about whether or not what is preferable, social media or websites. It's always websites for me, but it's not for me, it's not an either or. It's about utilizing the best channels to promote your brand or your business, and sometimes that means incorporating several different channels. But I think, Sheldon, and you can let me know if this has been your experience as well, I think people think websites are hard. It's a difficult thing, like it's this big monster thing. Websites can be pretty easy.
I do. Yes, a lot of persons think it's complex, and one of the things about persons is that they believe that a website is only required when they're a big business.
Yes.
When I'm a big business, I need that that website. The reality is, website is the only piece of owned real estate that you have in the digital space. Everything else, you're borrowing a spot.
You're using a third party.
Yes. So if Facebook, Instagram decide tomorrow that they're going to block you, or for some reason you're not able to access your social media platform, for a business that can be, a real setback. Just realize that a website is your own property. And even on social media, you want to direct persons to an environment where you have maximum control over the information you can provide, and just the sheer variety of content that you can put on your website can allow for that rich engagement from your potential or current client. You could continue to maintain those relationships, and you could increase revenue by getting new persons on your site and having them go through that journey to taking that valuable action. And that's the power of a website. And that's why a website is a popular tool outside of our region, because it is well known of the power of having a website and what you can do with it. So while all other channels are important, and we must also categorize channels, channels are appropriate for different stages of the buyer's journey. Social media is more of an engagement awareness platform, especially for certain brands, certain verticals. So different channels play different roles in the customer journey. And it's important that you understand that website, even though it factors in along the journey at every stage, it is your conversion channel. It's very important that you do all the work to make the person become aware, and you drive them through consideration. You pique their interests before that consideration. you're ready to convert them now, a website comes in handy. And then you look at retention, because it's cheaper to re-engage a current customer than to be out there seeking new customers all the time. And a website allows you to continue to engage. So yes, Kadia, I hope I didn't take away the platform from you, but yeah, just wanted to explain that. Yes.
Guys, do we have any other
I'm seeing a few questions in the discussion that I want to clarify, Kadia. Sorry about that. I just looking
before you go,
the discussion.
just to give you guys a real life example. You guys have heard me talk about Jessica in the kitchen. I showed you an example from her website today. Jessica in the kitchen website did not start out looking the way it looked. She started with a simple website where all you could really do was order stuff from the website. When she just started, all you could really do was order, and as more people discovered the site, people were asking her for recipes. And so she started adding a blog. She added a blog to the site talking about recipes and how she did this and that. And look at the website now. Look at how far that website has come. So guys, sometimes it's just a matter of getting started. You can have a really basic website in terms of it's not sexy, you know, have the flying, spinning, excitement things, but it is still a really high ranking website, because it's the content that's on the website, is the experience you're creating for the user. It's how sound your website is. So Google, don't look at how fancy your website is. That's not really what Google looks at, how sexy your website is. Sometimes these sexy websites don't create a good user experience, because you don't know where to go or what to click on, because things flying at you, coming at you, changing colors, disappear. You're going, whoa, 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 yeah. Right? And so all you really need is to be able to properly to properly set up your website, to put information that is relevant to your audience, answer questions before they're even asked, engage the audience, and make sure that you're constantly updating your website, because your website shouldn't be a static thing. But Sheldon, you said there are some questions that some things you wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer the last. Is that Joanna? All right. So Joanna says here, how often should you update their website's interface? If you're saying in terms of design, and that's really not up to you, the owner of the website. But if you're talking about content on the website, you should always strive to have fresh content, and that's usually done through blogs, you know, and things like that, or just refreshing your content on your website. Be very careful though, because subtle changes can result in Google not ranking the page for the specific search term. So you have to be very careful.
Yeah, don't want to change it every minute.
Don't want to change it.
It's annoying to a viewer because your website look a certain way, and in 2 weeks my comeback is different. And
it does mess with the credibility and trust. I tend to go on websites. They're very consistent. Updated content is very important, especially if it is sometimes of an academic nature or anything like that. You know, you want to update that. All right. She says, okay, understood. Can you scroll up for the other questions?
The question was, it was mentioned that you don't want to have your indexing funds used up. Forgive my phrasing, but how do you get the right ones documented by the Joanna, you want to jump on and explain?
Let me answer that.
Oh, you understand, Sheldon?
Yeah, man. Okay. Understood. All right. Yeah, wrong term. I said a budget, but it simply means time. The time that Google dedicates to nothing in the organic space is paid. No money is involved, no money exchange with Google for organic. Google does operate its paid side of its business separate from its organic side of it, separate the business totally. So there's no way to pay to be ranked. I want you to be careful of using that term rank when it comes to paid. But when I say budget, what I simply mean is the time that Google allots to crawl in your site at any point of interaction. How do you it says, how do you get the right ones documented? You decide on the pages you want to be crawled, what's important to you and your potential users of your website. And you could use a sitemap. That sitemap that I'd mentioned before, to submit the pages to Google, indicating to Google that these are the pages I want you to crawl. Also, by linking, by how you set the structure of your website, the hierarchy of your website, you are hinting to Google that these are my important pages at the top. That's what you link to next. That's what you link to next. So Google will crawl the site just like how a user would be going through your site. So that I hope that answers the question.
Guys, could you please use the Q&A to ask your questions? Ain't nobody got time to be scrolling through chat.
All right.
Please just drop your questions in the Q&A. There's a question in the Q&A now. Sheldon and Sandra is asking, for fashion, what is the best start for its website? Sandra, what is, I don't understand the question.
You mean build a web, ask if they're building a website. If you're referring
Sandra, Sandra is usually way more eloquent than this. I'm not sure what is happening here. So, Sandra, you want to jump on and ask your question? There's a Trisha Carrara. Is that what your hand has been up for some time? Do you have a question that you or something you want to say? Your hand has been up. No? Okay, great. Okay, Sandra, go ahead.
Fabulous morning to us all. Okay, so thank you, Kadia. So yeah, I was really trying to write it properly, but okay, say for instance, the person is doing fashion. It's going to be a website on fashion and clothing in the past, that kind of thing. So the person knows her content and all of that. But you know, what is the best website to use, or what is the best format to come up with? Do I go with what Katie just taught us about the theme builders website, or do I get someone to do a website? You just start from scratch, that kind of thing. You know, right. What would be the best thing right there?
All right. I usually...
you're talking about the structure of the site, like how to build the site.
Yeah. Structure of the site, yes.
Oh, I think that's a very subjective question.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. What I usually suggest is that you speak to a web developer to guide you as to, you know, what the best form. What I would recommend is for you to start with one of those template sites as recommended before. And because a custom site is usually for more complex builds. So, and it takes a lot of resources to build a site from scratch. And those template sites work super well. There's no issue with you having a template, selecting a template, and then having a developer work with you to
customize.
And customize that. Usually works well. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Kadia. Thank you,
Yeah,
Sheldon.
it really depends on what you're doing. If like me, when you just started, you couldn't afford a developer and still get
yes.
Yeah, I literally had to learn how to do it myself. But once you figure out how these theme builders work, it's the same template. You pick a template and you edit it and you go about your business. That's what I'm saying. It's not all want the fancy excitement websites, and I'm saying those are not that. Fancy excitement doesn't equal quality website. It doesn't equal good user experience. It's not going to want to make people come back to your website except to look at it and go, oh, this is nice, and that's it.
A minimalist
your website is supposed to be working. It's a tool. It's a working tool that you're using. It's not for prettiness.
Yes.
But that means your website will be like
look, yes.
A website with junky.
Thank you. Yes,
very much. Sure. And I keep jumping on Observer because there's no reason why them website look like that. There's no reason for them website to look like that.
It's just that for me,
Copy.
I think if I could get in the minds of the persons who run that site, it's for me, I believe there is not an appreciation for user experience and who
There you
comes to
go.
that. And when competition increases within the space and one realize that the difference between, you know, how many persons come into your site, because at the end of the day, these news websites, they sell impression. They resell impressions. So those eyes that go to your site is what they monetize with those ads. So they invite those advertisers to come and buy ad spots on their site. If the user experience is terrible and persons are not visiting the site and they're having low visitor numbers or high bounce rate, then maybe one day they would wake up and realize that they maybe need to build a new site or they need to try and optimize.
Janky, man.
All right. So
all right, there's another question, Sheldon. Loy Renee says, does it negatively affect your website if you turn off crawlers while working on your site, then submitting sitemap after you launch?
all right.
Can you turn off crawlers, Sheldon?
You can block crawlers from crawling a specific page or pages. You can block the entire site using robot.txt code. You can add an instruction to block all crawling so they can't crawl all the pages.
But to be honest, when you are building your website, you don't launch.
You do it offline though.
You do it offline.
Yeah. So no
and
crawling.
then you test and then you launch. You don't build.
If you have a specific page,
live.
If you have a specific page, you could take down that specific page or block crawling on a specific page, work on it, and then resubmit it in your sitemap.
If you have like a GoDaddy, you can even move the entire website offline to production, edit, and then push it back online.
I think one of the concerns for some people is to remove the entire site is to lose that potential for that period of time, to lose that potential traffic and all of that. You understand?
But some sites, and there was nobody there anyway.
Yes.
You're good. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, for those ones. But for enterprise sites that I work with, I've never really seen anyone entertain wanting to remove the site.
Sheldon, can you patent your website? I'm not aware of.
No.
Any ability to patent.
But you can copyright stuff on your site.
Copyright, patent.
No, you can't. No.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think you can patent websites because this is the thing. If you don't pay a domain name, it ain't yours no more.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can patent that.
And there's no need to go that extent to protect a site. Once you pay for your domain name, once you own that domain name, as long as you're paying for it, you own it. So no one can take it away from you like that unless you don't pay.
You understand? If you don't pay, you lose it. If you don't pay your hosting, you're not gonna have access to the website, and nobody's not gonna have access to the website.
Those are maintenance things. And bear in mind also, you have persons out there that are predators on the web. If you fail to pay for your domain name at any point in time, you have people out there that will buy it quickly and ransom it. You have to buy it back from them.
Yes, there's an article in TechCrunch that says Google is fighting them peoples.
Yes.
Because if you slip and you lose your domain name, say Amazon.com slip and lose the domain name and somebody grab up the Amazon name. They can do very nefarious things with that. Daniel Larman, no, you're actually not correct. The content that you put on your website is not automatically copyrighted. There's no automatic copywriting. You can block persons from downloading stuff off your site. Yes. Sheldon, you can let me know because Denny is saying based on copyright law. It's because law was my background. I don't recall anything in law that says what she meant, it's automatically copyrighted. That's not a thing.
I think what she meant, I think what she's explaining here is that Google, if you are the originator of a piece of content and Google has recognized, index that piece of content, Google is going to treat you as the originator of that content. So if
Yes,
I
but that's not
duplicate it,
copywriting.
yeah,
Copywriting
it's
is a
not.
very,
No, it's
it's a
not.
legal
Yeah,
terminology
so
that
you
means
can
a
sue the
very
person for
specific
using
thing.
it. Google,
Exactly.
Google can ignore you using that content if you have not added any value to it. So somebody can write a piece of content, you can rewrite it, add in some angle to it or value to it, and Google sees that it has been like new. You know, you add some value to it, and then you can get ranked for it. So no.
Right. So if you there, as I said, well, Daniel says she's an
And
IP
be careful,
lawyer,
be
but then
careful.
if that's the case, Daniel, you should know that copyright is a legal terminology that means very specific things. And no, it's not in fact, it is very hard to copyright things on the internet.
I'll tell you one caveat here though. One caveat here though. Remember when we say content, we're talking about all forms.
Yeah,
It
so
could be
text,
text,
images,
images. Now
videos.
you can copyright a piece of image though. You can copyright a piece of image.
Yes, so you have websites that you have to pay a subscription
Yeah.
for to be able to access certain images, as well as you have people who put their images online as what you call it, common, what's that?
Common use or something like that.
Common, use on this, I think it's called commons, where you can, anybody can really use it for any purpose. But there's images that are not. There's some things that are just not. Textbooks, if you find textbooks online, there, as I said, depending on where you are and the laws governing there, you using certain piece of content, there's certain ways you can use it without being copyrighted, but there's still laws that govern that. But if you're talking about content, say you put out a viral video on TikTok, you may not be able to copyright. You may not be able to copyright that. And examples are like, look at the person who came up with the on fleek. She was not able to copyright that. So you have people who come up with dances and sayings and stuff that they cannot copyright it. So what I'm trying to say is, not because you put it on a website means that it is automatically protected under copyright laws. That's what I'm saying.
Understood. But Google has its own set of rules, and just bear in mind that if what Google wants you to link to someone else's pieces of content is to give recognition to the originator of the content. You understand? So that's how backlinking kind of works. You understand? So you give a part to that original piece of content. I don't think there's any in terms of, I don't know in our jurisdiction, I'm not familiar with American laws. You understand? So I know in where we sit here, there's no such thing as, you'll be able to sue persons for content.
And our laws are antiquated. Our copyright laws are antiquated too. Yeah. So we are in a precarious position when we put our content and stuff. But really, a lot of these things about content sharing and using content is governed by the platforms. The platforms dictate a lot of these things. YouTube have strict rules that they follow, although they're under pressure from Congress, but they have strict rules that they follow because there are copyright laws that govern certain things, as we say. But like content on Instagram and Facebook and stuff, depending on the type of content, it's Facebook and Instagram that determines what is right or not right, or legal or not legal, or whatever. But anyways, guys, do we have any other questions for Sheldon related to search engine, SEO, or Sheldon, did you talk about pay-per-click? You didn't talk about, I think you only touched on SEO, right?
I didn't go in any in-depth detail on paid search, to be honest. Just give me a second here. What angle you want me to take it from? Because paid search can be quite extensive.
I just wanted to know if anybody had any questions about, okay, so one question I would ask on behalf of the class, Sheldon, is how do you, because you can supplement your SEO activity with your paid activity. So at what point do you decide when to go the paid route?
As
I
opposed
mean,
to,
you should always have an organic strategy in place,
yeah.
but how do you decide when to start supplementing that with a paid strategy?
All right. So one way to decide that is to look at how competitive that search term is. If it's a search term, that keyword that you're trying to rank that page for, if it's a keyword that you think it's over the long term that you're going to be able to, because of the level of competition out there for ranking on that keyword, that whatever type of content you're putting together to try and rank for that keyword, you may realize that, listen, it's Amazon are going up against, or going up against, four other major company of Amazon size for that keyword, and I will not immediately be able to rank for that keyword. What you could do, if it's very important to you to be present for that keyword, and if it has any kind of commercial potential, in terms of, when I say commercial potential, I mean that it has conversion to money, to business, you can decide, or should decide, to put some money behind it to support that keyword, so that you can, be positioned for that keyword for any traffic that may come from that keyword. In the meantime, while you organically rank for it. Also, what I do is, from time to time, I'll assess paid campaigns, looking at the ad groups, looking at every single thing, to look at some keywords that are long tail keywords, because most SEO keywords are long tail keywords. They are longer keywords. Looking at those keywords that we may be paying money for over a period of time, and look at putting in SEO efforts to kind of manage the budget a little better. So if I can get organic ranking for those keywords, then I will spend less on them, and I can spend more on those immediate resulting keywords, those transactional keywords that paid should be focused on. I don't know if I'm very clear on that, but that's how I make decisions. So it has to be the level of competition, how long I think it's going to take me to rank for that keyword. And if the business is willing to put a budget behind getting some traffic from it in the short term, we can put it in our paid campaign.
All right, guys. All right. So I see two questions in the Q&A. Loy says, what are the best practices when using the SEO terms? Do you mean keyword or search terms, Loy, in your long form content, besides having it flow naturally? For example, placement, number of times. If there's a thing called keyword stuffing.
Yeah.
Loy, Sheldon, you wanna
all right,
touch on
so
that?
yeah, all right. So keyword stuffing is basically overusing a keyword to the point where it sounds awkward, or it's not sounding genuine. All right. So there is no rule against using synonyms of the keywords and things like that, but you bear in mind that Google treats the synonym as the same keyword. They see it. Those algorithms that they have, and AI and machine learning tools that they have, are very good at recognizing when you're spamming a keyword. You understand? So it's very important that you write for the user, write to solve the challenge that the user is facing. Genuinely do it, and include your keywords as often, but don't overuse it. You understand?
Yes, and one strategy, guys, remember we looked at topic clusters,
Yes.
and we looked at content pillars and topic clusters. That's one way of doing it. That's one strategy as well. So say, for instance, you own a dog grooming business, right? And people are looking for tips about what if you have a dog that sheds a lot, or what dog is hyperallergenic because you're allergic to dogs, what you want a dog, and what dogs, and how do you groom your dog, and how you cut your dog nails. And so you're always talking about dogs, you're always talking about grooming, right? But there's a way to do it. So if you have a topic, say for instance your content pillar is around dog grooming, and then you have multiple topics around dog grooming, you can get away with doing it that way, right? That wouldn't be considered keyword stuffing necessarily, because you're having multiple posts about the same things. And you can do your interlinking and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you have one post, and in the one post you
You
said dog
include
grooming
every,
about 20
it's better to
times or
split, yeah.
50 times,
It's better to
that's
split
that.
up into multiple pages and have
Yeah.
that each page dedicate to that each piece of topic.
Right. So that's
Yeah,
what Sheldon means by it coming off unnatural, and you're not, when the reader is reading it, it's not gonna sound natural, like it flows to them, because you keep trying to stuff these words in there. And another thing you could do is use alternative to the keyword itself.
yes.
So for instance, instead of saying like maybe dog grooming, you can probably say pet grooming services, or something like that. You can use alternatives to the word, so indirect words that could tie back to the keyword. So sometimes you have, because keywords are ranked as well, right, Sheldon?
Yeah.
You can
So
rank keywords, so maybe not use the top ones, but maybe the ones a little bit below, and then kind of sprinkle it with the top ones,
yeah,
just
so
so you're not.
when we're doing keyword research, we usually, once we have got narrowed down to our best 10 keywords, we start to rank them. So rank them as H1, H2, H3 keywords. So I mean, sorry, position P1, P2, I'm sorry, P1, P2,
Yeah.
P3 keywords. And it's simply priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. So
Mm-hmm.
my highest priority keywords will, work hard on getting that keyword in as often, but I'll use my priority 2 keywords to help to, minimize the overuse of my P1 keywords. And so when you're writing the web pages, or you're designing the content, you're sprinkling your keywords just about, different places. So Google or the search engine can understand that this is the keyword you intend to rank for.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to prove to the search engine by the number of times you use the keyword that you're trying to rank for the keyword. The search engines are able to decipher, you understand? Because we're using things like semantic search now, where it's able to understand semantic language. You understand? It's looking at entity. You understand? For example, if I say I'm going to use an example, the President of the United States. If I am searching for the President of the United States, Google is able to tell me just about everything that is connected to me. He lives in the White House, his age, how many children he has, things like that. So while the president is the entity, Google is able to feed other information or associate other information to the president that may be relevant to your search, and able to narrow it down to precisely what the user wants. So once the content is there, it's all over your site, you're dedicating pages. Usually we suggest you dedicate a page to each keyword, specific keyword.
Yes.
You understand? And you maximize that page by providing a variety of content relevant to that keyword. The content could be a video. You understand? It could include an image that you include that keyword in. You understand? Find ways to break it up, find ways to provide the content depending on where in the customer journey the customer is. You understand? If they're at an awareness level or consideration level, you may a piece of video may be very important to the customer moving to the next step. You understand? So it all depends. And that comes through extensive research and trial and error. You try
Trial
a
and
piece of
error.
content. Yes, you try a piece of content. You realize that it's a hit. You try something that it doesn't work. You have to tweak it. You go back into the field. You look at the data that you capture, and you try to understand or decipher what the user is looking for, and you try and provide the content to do so.
Right.
And you don't have to reinvent the wheel either. There's content out there that, again, you can repurpose. You can put a different angle on it and provide a lot of value to your user.
And if you're a niche, I think if you're a niche, you probably have a better go at the whole SEO thing.
Yes. Yes, you do.
If you're a
Yes,
niche,
you do.
because then people will be looking for very specific things.
Yeah.
So say for instance, you're a dog groomer, but you specialize in Malamutes. if I have a Malamute and I'm looking for information about how to groom my Malamute, and I type in dog grooming Malamutes, and you have, say, a blog or a video on YouTube
Yes,
talking
yes.
specifically about how to groom your Malamute dog, or what happens when it's shedding or it's undercoat, because some dogs have double coats. So it's undercoat, how to shed undercoat, blah, blah, blah. Because you're so niche and your topic is really just around Malamutes, or you're zoomed in on that particular
Yes.
area, it's easier for you if to do your SEO. And I think that kind of answers the question Dana has, Sheldon, which is, she said, could you share a strategy or recommended course of action for a small e-commerce brand? So she makes stuff locally, and she wants to gain international attention, and she wants traffic. So she wants to sell to foreign people, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And she's saying she's in a competitive field, she's in a saturated market, and she wants Google to she wants to be visible on Google so international buyers can see her. What is like a basic strategy you could recommend?
Yeah, you just mentioned part of it, but also a real focus on content is king. So it's going to be a real focus on researching those key terms and creating content that is relevant to the user at the point in the journey that is best suited for them to take action. It's not trying to compete with the bigger brands for those key terms that are
you
high
can't.
traffic. You could
can't.
get more value from low volume keywords that are very, very specific, very, very narrow. You understand those long keywords that people type in. When somebody takes the time to type a long sentence into a search engine, you know they're close to or very specific about what they want. And those are the queries you want to be responding to. So it takes time. It will take a bit of research and understanding. It's going to take a bit of optimization on your side. You know, I don't know how technically optimized your site is, you know, things like that we could look at.
Yeah, and you have to make sure that your images are good. I'm sorry, you can't have an e-commerce website selling products and your images don't.
That's part of the process of optimizing.
That's part of the technical SEO.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to make sure that
high quality images,
high quality
content,
images, high quality videos, product descriptions are accurate, and is your
Site
product
structure,
description can have your keywords in there, as well. Your pricing
very important how you structure the site.
Very important.
Very important.
For
Things like what I mentioned
sites,
before. Yeah. Very important also is that what I mentioned before, mobile friendliness, site speed, all those things. You understand how large are your files, you know, what kind of code you use in the back end for those products. You know, use a JavaScript that is pulling down the site, all of that, because you can win up on those bigger brands on certain niche products if you do a few things right and stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Thank you, Sheldon.
Don't try to compete with these.
Stop watch the big brands. First of all, them have deep pockets and they will bury you with that keyword.
Yes.
Don't try to compete with them.
This is one place that you don't focus on the competition. Focus on your customers that you're trying to reach. So it's going to take research, customer research, to understand your customers, who you're trying to reach. You know, do you have those personas locked? Who are you targeting with your products? Have those down to a T. You understand? So you know who you're speaking to. So the language you put on the site, the content that you put there, how you speak. Are you speaking to more males and females? Are you speaking to mothers? Who are you speaking to? And you speak in that language. So when one comes to your site, they know, they feel as if you're coming in, you're speaking to them, you're getting them to take action. You know, you're solving their problems. That's how you go about it.
And thief things. And let me explain what I mean.
Yes.
Dana, if you're saying that you're in a saturated market, although I would disagree with you that you're in a saturated market, but say you're in a saturated market, that means that there are other e-commerce platforms out there selling the same things you're selling. Go and look at what they're doing well.
They're doing, yes.
And copy it. Literally copy it. Go and look at what they're doing well. And I would say look at the foreign
and look
sites.
at it. Yeah, and look at the content that they're they're ranking for well. So if there are certain key terms, you realize that a certain number of sites are ranking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You realize, oh, so infographic is what they want. Or, you know, they want a certain piece of content in a certain way. That's what the user is going after. You take that, and as I said before, put your own spin and edge on it.
Yeah.
And put it on your site and try to get it optimized and ranked for.
Yeah,
You
and I
understand?
think Dana is in a space where Dana, you can niche. I think you are already a niche brand, and you can niche down even more. And I think it's about how you present your brand, because Dana makes porcelain ceramics, Sheldon, and a
Yes.
lot of them they're very local. So you have breadfruit, ackee, different shapes that are very unique, very Jamaican. And I think because she does stuff like that, I think she's already niched. And
Yeah.
that's why I don't think she's in a saturated market. I think it's just how the things are being presented and where they're being presented. But
Set up your
I
site
think
like
Dana
a
is in a better position to have a really good website than most of us, to be quite honest with you.
a portfolio looking site full of rich images, full of
Yeah.
videos. You know, you're giving people a little bit of what you do in the back end, you know, who you are, why you do this, you know, letting people connect with the human side of the business, you know, giving the business a personality. You're a Jamaican, you're about culture, you know who you're targeting. Oh, I'm targeting the diaspora.
Diaspora.
Yeah,
And
you
guys,
understand?
nostalgia works with the diaspora.
Yes.
Nostalgia works with in diaspora marketing. Nostalgia works, and culture also works, but you don't want to overdo it. You want to do it in a very elegant way, because her stuff is very, very pretty, very nice. So
Yes.
if Dana gets some really good pictures and really high quality video and good product descriptions, and she's throwing a little bit of that nostalgia and stuff, I think she's in a better position than most, to be quite honest with you. But all right, guys, so Sheldon was only supposed to be for an hour. It's 1 o'clock and he's still here, and I'm really grateful to him for sticking around. So Giovanni saying if you want quality images, check him. He's a photographer and videographer, so he's shooting his shot in the chat.
All
I
right,
like to see it. I like to see
share
it.
his contact. And guys, any of you guys want to, you can always email me, contact me on LinkedIn, reach out to me. I'd be happy to.
What's your email, Sheldon? I've just dropped your
Sheldon,
LinkedIn.
Sheldon R. Harrison at gmail.com is my email. And look out, we have a few other things coming out in the space soon. I am really enthused to share SEO knowledge and to teach businesses and individuals about SEO and the potential that's there sitting and waiting. No one is competing. No one. I work with big brands. No one is competing in SEO. You understand? So you can have a leg up in this space on any big brand, because they're just not looking that way right now.
They're not looking that way. Sheldon, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Guys, it's now 1 o'clock. I wanted to have a quick conversation with you guys about the assignment. How is the assignment going?
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much, Sheldon. Really appreciate it. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Really appreciate Sheldon for coming. It was quite a lot of information. Somebody said it's going to take you a while to process. Yes, it really is a lot of information to process. So take your time. Don't try digesting all of it at once. Just go through, watch the replay bit by bit. And while you're watching, if he says something and you don't understand it readily or whatever, pause the video, Google it, and come back. Right? So guys, how was the assignment? Has everybody submitted their assignment? So Joanna said it was easy for her to grasp than previous ones. Yes, because guys, when we think about websites and SEO and email, we think it is so hard. It's because we're not used to it. It's because it's not something that's a part of our everyday culture. Social media has permeated the culture and has become a part of everyday culture. And again, it's because accessing social media is easier But I don't agree that posting and building a profile on social media is easier. It's not easy. I don't agree it's easy. I just think we're not used to these other platforms, and we've never really thought about incorporating these other platforms. And so when we hear about them, we think, oh my God, that's hard. It's hard until you really get into it and kind of figure out how it works. But it's not a mystery. The only thing that's a mystery is, as everybody says, how Google ranks. But putting your website together and putting content out on website, and so it's not a mystery when you have Wix and WordPress, and so that makes it like relatively easy for you to just create a website. You can get a free Google website right now. If you have Gmail, you can get a free Google website right now. Um, but yeah, guys, as I'm saying, you don't have to, even as a digital marketer, you don't have to bog yourself down with understanding every single term. So, guys, let me tell you something. For the most part, even Sheldon, we go and we type in what is keywords, because the meaning of things change, strategies change, algorithms change, context around things change. Everything is fluid in the digital space. So sometimes I find myself having to go in and type in and search and just read about what is happening and go, oh, okay. And so that's why I've had to go through and update the slides, because what I taught last year is different than what a lot of what I taught last year has changed, and so I've had to update the slides for this cohort, because the information is not static. Platforms change, algorithms change, context change, best practices change, and so don't having to Google stuff. Even coders, you see them online, code for this, and then go for the home source sites and find it. Because why reinvent wheels? The information is there. Google it, find it, use it. Ain't no shame in that game, okay? So, guys, you don't have to bog yourself down by wanting to learn all the terms now. No. What this course is supposed to be doing for you is helping you get a basic understanding of what all these marketing channels are, and for you to then be able to decide how you can use these different channels in building your plan. That's all this course is really meant to do. So when I see people getting stressed out and oh my God, it's really just intake of information so you can make more informed decisions about your marketing activities online. That's really it. The certification component is just so you can say you have a basic competence level. That's it. So stop stressing out yourselves, and stop overthinking things.